All right, well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for tuning in today to Lions Talk Live. Hey, here we go. We got a Tuesday. We got not a lot of big news coming out today, at least nothing yet. Maybe there's some breaking news or whatever later today, but I want to get on the mic just a couple minutes early because I'm only going to be able to go about 45 or so minutes today. We got some people coming over to do the work on the house, and Jen has told me I got to get off the air early so I can make sure everything's ready for them when they get here. All right, so as you can see from the thumbnail, today's topic, and I'm sure we'll get into a plethora of other things, is that yesterday a panel of 11 people over at ESPN, some of their top panelists, were sat down to talk about next year's NFL, the landscape, and then at the end of it, they gave their predictions on what teams they anticipate both making the AFC and NFC title game, then the Super Bowl, and even winning the Super Bowl. So if you weren't aware of that, here's what was shook out. There were 11 people on the panel, and 5 of them predicted the Detroit Lions to be in the Super Bowl. A few of them even predicted the Lions to win the Super Bowl. Out of the ones who did not predict the Lions to be in the Super Bowl, another 3 of them, so that'd be 8 out of the 11, predicted the Lions would be in the NFC title game. A couple others picked that Green Bay would make it, and I think there was one that predicted San Francisco. So you could see, at least as far as ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports or whatever, predicting, there seems to be a lot of love for the Detroit Lions, and I think we all get it based on what happened last year. You got another year with some of this young talent growing, developing. Same with the coaches. You were able to retain all your coaching staff for the most part. I mean, the big guns, at least, the offensive coordinator, defense coordinator, obviously the head coach. And then you brought in like Williams to work with the defensive line. You look at how much the Lions have to work with this offseason in the draft and free agency. I think it's fair to say across the world of sports, a lot of people are pointing to the Detroit Lions and basically saying Superdome or bust this year. So before we get into all that, though, a couple things, house stuff to talk about here. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. We're about 60 subs or so away from hitting 5,900. So if you're watching the channel, you enjoy it, and you would be so kind, please consider subscribing. Also, if you like the content, hit that thumbs up thingy and help the channel out. Last but never least, just because I'm like the rest of you, I'm assuming at least, and have bills to pay, outside of being a coach and a YouTuber, I am a realtor, have been since the early 90s. So if you're looking for someone to shoot you straight, tell you what the rights and wrongs of a house, somebody who can walk you through a property and say, hey, maybe there's a foundation problem here. Hey, let's look at this. Why is the floor uneven there? Pay attention to the seams in the basement. When say the drywall is brought down to the floor, did they use pressurized lumber? Did they leave a 1/4-inch gap between the concrete and the walling? Stuff like that. I mean, the nuances of construction that unfortunately most realtors do not know. Then give me a call, shoot me a text. Let me see if I can save you some money, save you some hassle, and help educate you a little bit on how real estate works. So give me a call, shoot me a text, 269-998-2384. All right, enough about the jibber jabber. Let's get back over to things. Let's get over to see what you guys have to say about this. But you know what? I think real quick before we get to the comment section, I don't think ESPN is going to be the only one that is going to be heavy favorites towards predicting the Detroit Lions to be a Super Bowl contender. We talked about it on the show ad nauseum probably the last week or so. You know, every other company is going to go out there and probably have a vast majority of its analysts predict the Lions. There's just no reason to go against them. Stability at quarterback, offense, you've got a ton of weapons. Defense, I get that's where the questions there lie. But I think there's enough good young parts on the defense where you could say, hey, Lions have a chance here. They get 1 or 2 players, maybe 3, to really help out that D, especially in the secondary and the pass rush. They're pretty formidable at that point, I would think, on both sides of the ball. Yes, the NFC North is going to be vastly superior. I think it's going to be, depending on what the Minnesota Vikings do, I think it's going to be a 3-team race for supremacy in the NFC North at least. And then from there, whoever wins the North is probably one of the top teams in the NFC as a whole. Sorry, I had to adjust something on one of my screens. But, all right, let's see what you guys have to say about this. JDC, good morning, all. Good morning to you, my friend. Hopefully I'm a good one. Michael, howdy, Dan, Lions faithful. Hopefully you have a great day. Back at you. Hopefully your day is going to go real well. All right, Trump, let's see. Woo! The first woo of the day. There you go. Trump, good morning. All back at you. Hopefully you're having a real good morning, man. All right, Robert, what do you got? Good morning, Dan and crew. Same to you. Hopefully you enjoy a delicious Mountain Dew today. Trump, any good word on free agency? Not a ton yet. No, nothing that I'm sure you guys haven't been inundated with either from my channel or other outlets for about a week. A lot of people are going to say, hey, we need to get Danielle Hunter. I get that. We're going to need to get a pass rusher. So Josh Allen or somebody. I know Burns from Carolina is another big target for people. The only thing I've got with Burns or Allen is I would anticipate in order to acquire either one of those, the teams are going to slap a franchise tag on them and force a trade if they don't feel like they can honestly retain them. Hunter, that's not the case. He can't be franchised. So he's just a unrestricted free agent. He can go wherever he wants. Some of the other ones that I think might pop up if Lattimore gets released from the Saints, which I think there is a growing possibility there that might shake out. You can go after him unrestricted. The problem with any of the free agents, at least the big name ones, is, we talked about a little bit on yesterday's show that St. Brown might be signing somewhere around $25 million a year. It could be 26, 25, whatever. But if you look at the scope of the NFL as far as receivers, he's not in the top 5. He'd be in the top 10, but not in the top 5. So is that an indication, if these reports are at least somewhat accurate, that he's taking that 25-ish million a year? Is he giving the Lions a hometown discount? And the same will be true with Penei Sewell if they re-sign him to an extension this offseason, and other players. If they get guys that take, 3 or 4 million less, but now you bring in a free agent like Hunter's gonna get paid. I don't think anybody here watching this show is going to contest that. Danielle Hunter is going to get a wee bit of cash. And if he's getting top dollar and you're asking everybody else on the team to take 95 being an ideal setup as a GM, because you're probably making everybody hate that dude, or at least the vast majority of the team not really respond well to him. Plus, you're setting a bad precedence where if you want everybody else to pay cuts or whatever, and now you're paying some guy top dollar, I just don't see that playing out. But I've been wrong before, though, so we'll see what they do. That's what he got. Ratings and salutations, though. Can't wait for next season to kick off. 100%. Yeah, everybody here. I mean, think about it. It's the off season, and we're having daily shows about the Detroit Lions and talking about, hey, ESPN's talking about us being the potential Super Bowl winner, let alone contender. We only need a couple parts here and there. I mean, everybody is definitely aware how good this team potentially can be next season, where they can potentially go. It's not going to go all according to plan. There's going to be moments sort of like the Dallas game or the Thanksgiving Day game last year. We're all going to be like, man, this team is whack. They got no chance. Fire everybody. That's going to happen in any NFL season with every team. But I will also agree with you, Tess, that I think everybody sees the potential and wants this team to be back on the field. We want to get to that Super Bowl. All right, Gary, what I got? Good morning. 2025 hooker time. It could be the year of the hooker in 2025. And I get that as a topic. I mean, wait till we get to the preseason. If this kid goes out there and just rifles the ball around, and he looks like the greatest quarterback ever or whatever, then man, that topic is going to be launching itself throughout the rest of that season. And it's not fair because I get Goff's probably not taking any snaps whatsoever in the preseason. If he does, it'll be like one drive or something like that. But, Hooker's the great unknown. We all think he can be this, but we have to wait and see because let's be honest and fair to all parties. Right now, it's all speculation how strong Hooker is. My guess, and it's only a guess, he's going to look pretty dang good. I think he's going to look real good because you're going to have vanilla defenses out there and vanilla offenses as well. Nobody's going to game plan for him. It's just going to be everybody working on their base formations, getting, guys reps, taking long extended looks at the second tier, third tier players, etc. So I get it. Hooker's not going to probably face too many difficult challenges during that time frame. But that also being said, it also means it gives us a real good chance to see him. And the first time he breaks containment and runs for 15, 25, 50 yards, everybody's like he should be the starting quarterback. the first time he guns it deep down the sideline to, somebody on a 75-yard pass, everybody can see that arm strength. Everybody's going to be jumping up and down. Hey, trade Goff, right? And the problem is we're all aware it's preseason. We'll be tantalized by him, but I don't think we're going to be able to really say if he's great or whatever until you see him in live, actual football, meaningful football. All right, Detroit D, greetings, salutations to everyone. Also, have an awesome day. Go Lions. Same to you, my friend. Hopefully your day is just a great one, and hopefully you take a little time out to visit your local Circle K and have a Mountain Dew. All right, Mike, what do you got? Just shared the show again in my Michigan friends and family on Facebook again. Go Dan Thornton. Thanks for that, Michael. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, I appreciate it. Everything you guys do. Thank you very much for it. All right, Garland. At Gary, maybe it's time for Goff and Hooker to square off in a steel cage death match. LOL, I say let them both compete for the right to start. Goff should hold off Hooker, but if Hooker can win the job, then let that be. Yeah, just, first thing with coaching I was ever taught was, man, don't ever say this person's a starter or this person can't beat out somebody else, because then you deny both parties an opportunity to face competition, to face a little bit of stress, to perform under some duress. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of it, and don't ever pick a starter. It's whoever goes out there and wins the job. Yes, there might be people that be favored to be the starter, but as a coaching staff, don't have the narrow mindset where, hey, this guy is just clearly better in practice, but you know what? We said this person's the starter. Yeah, don't do that. Detroit D, it would be nice to get Hunter in free agency and hurt the Vikings. Yeah, I question heavily D, if Minnesota is going to be able to retain him. If I'm Hunter, and especially if Minnesota can't re-sign Kirk Cousins, if they do that, I don't think there's any chance Danielle Hunter wants to stay there. I think he'll take off somewhere else just because you look at his age. He's going to get paid from somebody. Might as well somebody has a legitimate shot at winning. I mean, going into a team where winning's probably not an option, I would just think at this point in his career that's not enticing to him. So I'm like you and probably everybody watching this show. I hope to and pray we can sign him. I just think from an economic standpoint and a team morale standpoint, that's just a hard sale. Boy, I can't talk. To make to a lot of the guys, like I said earlier, that are taking a little bit of pay cuts. All right, John King, what do you got? Yes, you guys are hungry. We can hopefully fix a couple of weak spots. Last year was our year, but didn't think we realized it soon enough. Yeah, and hindsight's always 2020. Could Brad Holmes went out and done something prior to the trade deadline? Obviously we weren't all privy to it at the time, but in the last few weeks we have become privy to the fact he tried to get Hunter from Minnesota. He tried to get Burns from Carolina. It just neither team was willing to send off either player at a price that was agreeable to Brad Holmes. And I know people are going to be talking about, hey, what if we trade for this guy, trade for that guy, sign this guy? I think we need to first identify what our GM historically has done. And at least I always say it on the show, the trend is your friend in coaching and in stocks or whatever. You trade the trend, you bake your bets, I guess you could say, based on that. And there's nothing we've seen, at least in 3 years here with Brad Holmes, that gives me any indication that he's going to break the bank, giving up draft picks to acquire a player. Maybe this will be a different year. Maybe this is the year he says, hey, we're that close to getting to the promised land where really we don't need 7 draft picks. We need 3 impact players. And can we achieve those 3 impact players via trades, via free agency, via the draft? And that's where I guess we're all going to have to buckle in and strap in, grab our popcorn, and just sit back and watch. Because, you guys all know my thoughts. Last year, I would have been all over Sweat because I thought last year was a real golden opportunity for us. We've got enough young talent here to really make a push. I probably would have been pretty heavy after a couple players to help push us over the top. In the end of the day, would have been enough to get us into the Super Bowl? Nobody's ever going to be able to answer that. But I will say this, if it was me this year, I don't want 7, guys. I want, like I just said a minute ago, 3 impact players, 1 defensive end, probably 2 corners. And at that point, if I'm trading, 3 or 4 picks for 1 guy, just say to get some home run player, I'm going to tell him, hey, I'll give you my first and second for this guy. In return, I need that player, and I need like your sixth and seventh, and maybe next year's seventh for it, because then I can kind of offset the pricing scale. I'm going to have the same amount of picks, but I'm not going to have to pay those picks nearly as much, being late round picks. So I can offset what Danielle Hunter in this example is going to get paid at least slightly. All right, Trump, I make Goff play out contract. Yeah, and I think that is a possibility for this regime. We may not all want to hear it, and they might come out tomorrow and sign Goff to a 3 to 5 year deal for whatever price. But I do think there's at least some possibility, and I'm just saying some, small, that the Lions coaching staff saw Hooker enough last year where they said, there's some real opportunity here. And they may go into the preseason not having signed Goff. And if they further their beliefs in Hendon Hooker, where they're like, yeah, this kid could be something, then maybe, to your point, Trump, they let him play out Goff his final year, reevaluate at that situation. And then if they feel like Hooker can be fairly equal to Goff, then maybe they just move on from Goff. Obviously, that's going to save 40 or 50 million a year. If they feel like, Goff hasn't been superseded or hasn't been supplanted by Hooker, then you can slap the franchise tag on him for 2 straight years. So you can retain Goff for up to 3 more years without having to worry about it. All right, John Green, salutations all. Hope we just keep our offensive line strong. Everyone in the North has a D line that can get after quarterbacks. Need to protect whoever is under center. Yeah, and I think that's got to be, if it's not priority 1, it's got to be on the top 3 because Jonah Jackson, if Ragnow's staying and Decker's staying, and if you re-sign Glasgow, I'm guessing Jonah Jackson is playing on another team next year, which means you've got to replace him in the lineup. That's where I think the argument a lot of you guys made in the first mock draft we did here makes real sense then. If you go after, say, like Jackson Powers or whatever, because he's probably, at least we're all going to assume at this point, he's probably a day 1 starter. You've deferred or saved the team a lot of money for the next 4 to 5 years by bringing him in on a rookie contract from the first round. You've replaced, I should say, Jonah Jackson, and you create some flexibility because we all know this guy can play guard and center. So if Ragnow leaves in a year or 2, your heir apparent is already on staff here. So I get your thoughts there, and maybe that's the way to go. But to your point, no matter who's under center, no matter who the running back is, you want that line to be strong because you look at Green Bay, you look at Chicago, and who knows what's going to happen with Minnesota. You're going to have to stop those pass rushes. You want to get to the Super Bowl. You want to get home field advantage. You need to win the NFC North. All right, Moonscar. Good morning, Coach Dan and all the new crew. Faithful! Exclamation point. Go Lions! Exclamation point. Good morning to you too, Moonscar, and hopefully having a great one. Gary, I'm sure we can all agree having 2 quarterbacks of their ability and talent on our team is a great thing, no matter who plays. 1,000%. We all, nothing against Nate Sutfield, but if something happened to Goff when Sutfield was the backup quarterback, did anybody have any realistic expectations the show was going to continue to go on? Last year, we had a good, obviously with Teddy B, Bridgewater having, a great backup quarterback, but you got to have somebody back there who can handle. You got to have somebody back there who's familiar with the team, the offense, the formations, the personnel, and then it can obviously execute, right? So, yeah, I'm all for having competition. I'm also all for having a sound backup option should the unthinkable happen. All right, Robert, greetings and salutations. Do crew, exclamation point back at you. Detroit D, I believe Brad is going to strike gold in the 3rd round again. Maybe he gets us a lockdown corner like Seattle did a few years ago. You're 100% right. You think about, I can't remember the rookie kid Seattle has on their team right now, but once he was like a 5th round pick or something like that, like a later round pick. And the dude's got talent. And then, sticking with Seattle, you look at, Richard Sherman. I know he was like a 5th round pick or later. It is 100% possible to do it. It's just obviously it becomes a little bit more and more difficult to achieve it. So Brad Holmes, he's given us no reason to ever doubt anything he does in the draft. The guy, just like you point out, strikes gold left and right. I mean, luckiest dude alive, whatever you want to say, greatest talent evaluator of all time. Whatever he does, I think there are limited holes on this team. So I think he's got to address those needs and then obviously start growing some future talent for the team. And you're in a great spot because we've got a number of picks. If you can just fill in a couple of those holes and bring in some better talent to start developing, and the future looks real bright. All right, Moonscar. Hope ESPN means Superdome in 2025. Well, you know what? To be in the Super Bowl, you got to be in the Superdome. So Superdome or bust. I like it. Moonscar. Dean, good morning, all. Let's sign Hunter to keep him away from Chicago. Coach, what do you think about that? Yeah, I'd be all for getting Danielle Hunter. I think he would be a massive upgrade for us, just off the charts. It's just, again, what's it going to cost to get him? Would he be willing to take a 90 or 95% of what the max deal is that's being offered to him in order to come to Detroit? I think if you could get him to do that, then you know what, the rest of the team who you're asking for some hometown discounts from, then they're probably on board with him. Then they're probably embracing him. He could have got, I'm just going to make something up here. He could have got $75 million with $68 million guaranteed from Timbuktu team or whatever. And you know what? He was willing to take only 90 or 95% of that to come here. Yeah, I think everybody on the team would probably embrace him because the players are aware what offers people get. They hear the speculation, and some of them, right, wrong, or indifferent, if they're at that position and their agent's telling them, man, this dude could have signed here for that amount and he took only this to come to you guys. Yeah, that word spreads like wildfire. All right, Boo. Good morning, Dew Crew. Superdome or bust! ! Lions have a hype train nationwide. How crazy is that? Yeah, and you think about just whatever it was 3-4 weeks ago when we were in the NFC title game. I would say 90% of the nation was pulling for the Detroit Lions. If you weren't a San Francisco 49er fan, you probably weren't pulling. You obviously were pulling for the 49ers, but outside of them, I got to imagine just about everybody else in the country, and for the most part, was pulling for Detroit. All right, Michael, I'm looking forward to the free agents that are influenced by our new coaches, Williams, Tennessee, and Torres from Jacksonville and Chicago. There is some potential there that their reputation precedes them, and they do get a couple guys to come here who might not have otherwise because they want to work with those guys and be coached up by those guys. Plus, obviously the rest of the team and the dynamics as well. All right, Robert, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Woo! There you go, Robert. All right, I'll go with that. And way to use the do. I made the do be with you. John, I hope our coaches and players realize the bar is now high. I mean, they'd have to be sleeping under a rock. And I got to imagine, we talked about it when the Super Bowl happened. I got to imagine MCDC was just sitting there like this the entire time, just sitting there, just grinding, watching that game out, just knowing you were that close to being there. Probably, unfortunately, like every coach, when you lose, especially when you're watching the following game, the championship game, and you're thinking, we should have been there, this could have been us. In your head, you're overanalyzing every call you made or didn't make. It's brutal, man. But, it's part of the profession. If you think fans were going through it, imagine, Aaron Glenn or Ben Johnson or MCDC or any of the coaches, let alone the players, going, what if I would have done this? Man, I should have done that. If only if I would have held on to this. Man, it's brutal at times. All right, Clark, what do you got? Greetings, salutations, everyone. Defense, coach. I read a story saying the Lions might trade up to number 6 in the draft to grab a DB, ? Could you see that happening? Man, I don't know on that one. Could I see it happening? Sure. Do I think it's possible? I'm going to go with probably not, just because I just don't think it's Brad Holmes' forte to want to give up a bunch of draft capital. And that's what I'm guessing. If you're going to move from 29 to 6, you're moving up a lot of spots and you're giving up a whole lot. So here's what I would say, Clark. What do you have to give up to achieve that? My assumption is you'd have to give up probably your second and third this year, and probably your first or second, uh, something like that, at least next year. And that just doesn't seem to fit with what Brad Holmes likes to do. I don't see that one shaking out. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see that one happening. I mean, when we moved up to get Jameson Williams, I thought we got one of the bigger steals ever because we gave up, at least in my opinion, very little to achieve that. So see what happens. Man Bear, greetings and salutations, all exclamation point. So do you think Lions have a player that you consider a, quote, dark horse this upcoming season? As far as in-house, Man Bear, I did a video yesterday on Martin, Broderick Martin. I do think if you're looking for a dark horse or surprise player, he would seem to fit the bill to me. And I know there's going to be others, people that say, man, we don't know anything about this kid. And, he's not going to amount to anything. And I get that. I get that. He didn't show us much as a rookie, and he also didn't get a lot of opportunity last year as a rookie. But what I would say is, based on what you could see, the progression from preseason to the middle of the season, plus where I also think he's going to advance naturally just through more attrition and experience, I think that kid's really geared up to be something. You get him out there and his athleticism. Maybe they don't go after, I get nobody's going to want to hear this, but maybe they don't go after anybody in free agency. Maybe they just say James Houston's the dude. We're going to re-sign him for a year, maybe two, unless or whatever they do with the contract. And that's our defensive front. Hutchinson one side, Houston the other side, Aleem and Broderick Martin is the front. That you do that, you've got some athleticism up there, which we did not have a ton of athleticism, in my opinion, this prior season. But now all of a sudden you get pretty athletic. The linebacker core is pretty athletic, and I think they're going to further develop. That would mean that really the cornerback situation, I think, is the most glaring need at that point, other than maybe some stability on the offensive line with a little bit more depth and kicker. So see what they do. Robert G., I sure hope the team can handle all the expectations, exclamation point. The good part is, Robert, is you go back, this is 2 seasons in a row now, at least if you look at it this way. When they went on Hard Knocks, I think that really pushed the team as far as expectations. So one could say maybe Hard Knocks didn't do them a favor. Maybe they got a little full of themselves being a younger team, and that's why they got off to the 1-6 start. But after that, as we all know, they shotgunned their way through the rest of the season, nearly made the playoffs. And then last year, obviously a home run. So they've had 2 years of growth and development with expectations. Now it just comes down to performance on the field. We all know next season's schedule is going to be a lot more difficult and challenging. But that's the price you pay when you're a good team. You're going to face more and more good teams. The NFL is going to want to set it up on networks where the Lions are in constant battles, whether it's in division or out division or outside of their division, to face good teams, because that's going to bring in more ratings. People may love to see the Lions, but nobody wants to see the Lions beat up the bad news Bears by 50. They want to see Lions, Ravens, Lions, Chiefs, Lions, 49ers, Lions, Cowboys, because they know that's going to bring in all the ratings. Don, good morning. Motor City Duke Crew, back at you. Hopefully you're having a great morning. Man Bear, smash that like, show Coach some love. Hey, thanks for that, Man Bear. Yeah, if you haven't yet hit the thumbs up button or subscribed, please consider doing so. Silver, what do you got? Good morning, Coach, and everyone else. I'll tell you, Coach, I sure hope Bears trade Fields. He continues to grow. He has an arm and the best running legs in the NFL. Let somebody else face him. I actually thought about, even though it's not Lions content, I actually thought about doing an episode on that. Where would I don't think, maybe I'm wrong. I've told you guys in the past what I would do. I would keep him, and I would trade that first pick and try to get 2 or 3 additional picks for it. I almost think the Bears are forced into taking Caleb Williams, but maybe they won't. I sure wouldn't be disappointed if Fields was somewhere else, just because he does have so much X factor to him. I like him. I think he can be continually grown and developed into just an outstanding quarterback. But also, if they are going to take Caleb Williams, where do you want to see Fields go? My anticipation is it's got to be Las Vegas, Pittsburgh. I just think Atlanta's going to end up drafting a quarterback, so that doesn't seem like an option to me. Other than that, I'm not sure. Maybe Seattle. Seattle, I guess, would not be a bad destination. But if you guys got some spots, you just heard mine. Let me know where you think he might end up if the Bears trade him. Boo, possibly 6 primetime games this year. Lines from Vegas will be interesting. Yeah, and I know there was. Let's see if I can give you something, Boo. All right, current favorites to win the NFC according to DraftKings Sportsbooks are, and you guys probably know more about this Jazz than I do. Lions plus 550. I don't know what the 550 means. You guys probably do. I'm assuming that's a good number. They got the Niners at plus 225. So the Lions are the next team back. So if I understand correctly, which who knows if I do, Niners are the favorite to win the NFC. Lions are next. Eagles follow that. Cowboys are tied with Eagles. And then Packers just a shade behind them. So you guys know more about the numbers than I do, so you can educate me. All right, just say K at Clark Griswold. Holmes doesn't strike me as the guy that wants to give up a lot of picks for one player. Yeah, I would probably agree with that. It doesn't seem to be his norm or tendency. All right, Michael, cornerback Bunting, Tennessee, Hirdon, Jax, Johnson, Chicago. Yeah, the Chicago guy, Johnson, he's probably the one I'm the most familiar with, and I would say this, he'd probably be a real good fit. I think the problem with him is going to be like Hunter. Him and the other guys you mentioned, they're going to get paid. Will the Lions be willing to pay that much to get somebody? I think therein lies the problem. I think there's, the one video I put out last week or whatever it was about J.C. Horn, to me that made more sense because it seems to go in line with what Holmes, likes to do. Acquire somebody he thinks has more value than what it's going to cost to get. So Emmanuel Mosley, I could totally see the Lions re-signing him because you're going to be able to get him at a low value on a prove-it deal, and you know what? He's got tremendous upside. Horn, kind of the same thing. Even if it's not the 29th overall pick that we give up for him, if it's a second or third rounder, that would be great in my opinion. But if it was the first rounder, I think Holmes would do it for a couple reasons. One, you get Horn, you get him cheap, still on a rookie deal for a year or two, I guess you could say. But he'd also probably acquire a number of lower end draft picks. So maybe a second, a fifth and sixth, etc. So wait and see what happens. But I just question again how much Holmes is going to be willing to open up the checkbook. All right, Bruce, Boo Booth, I bet the Lions will be one of the most requested teams by networks. Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. Boo, I believe they are the most requested team now. That is also true. I know a lot of team or networks were after them last year. Franz, greetings, salutations, all. Do we use the franchise tag on JJ, Jonah Jackson? Oh yeah, I just think if Jonah Jackson wants to stay here, it's going to be on the Detroit Lions to offer him obviously a contract that's going to work for his representation. I think it just comes down to that, simple as that. I don't think they're going to franchise him, knowing that the following year we can't use him again, or we can't re-sign him. Bergs, good morning, Dan and Do Crew. Thank you for all you do. Hey, you do. No worries, man. As you know, man, and thanks for all you do to help me out, Berg. So 100% appreciate it. Hookadoo. Good morning, Coach Dan, and all the minions of the Do Crew. Good morning to you too, Hookadoo. Hopefully you're having a great one. Gary, I love Field Surfer. We have a stud in our barn too. Let him loose. Yeah. And again, I'll throw the question at you guys. If Fields gets traded, where do you think he ends up going? You heard my thoughts. Let me know yours. Boo, Harden, Tennessee, cornerback, 6'1", 200 pounds. Sounds intriguing. Yeah. I can't speak to him a ton. I just haven't watched him a ton. Johnson, though, I think with as much man coverage as the Bears use, would be a pretty ideal fit. Plus, he's physical. Hooker time. Good morning, Duwans. All right. Good morning, you too. Detroit D. The Lions have become the team of the people. They have. And I know we were talking about during the playoffs and maybe even before the playoffs last year. Lions really have become America's team. And a lot of different stories with the team, the franchise, the coaching staff, the whole shebang-a-bang. All right, Doug Green, Sanitation Zone. Which rookie will have the greatest breakout in year two? As far as I guess, I hate going back to yesterday's video, but I think as far as under the radar people, it's going to be either Broderick Martin or Antoine Green. Green, I do think there's some potential. Josh Reynolds, leaves. I think Green might be one of the replacements. He was not bad last year. As we all know, most rookie receivers, like cornerbacks, take a little time to kind of marinate and grow. I think he could be one of the dudes out there. So one of those two, if you want to under the radar pick from me, it'd be probably one of those guys. K-Pop, good morning all. How much cap space do we have going to the free agency window? Depends on what metrics you use, but how about the somewhere between 50 and 70 million? We do have some dead cap money now that we didn't re-sign some guys or extend their contracts. So I want to say we're just under 16 million in dead cap, but there are some ways to help alleviate that. Surfer, as far as comparing Jerry Ball to B. Martin, I cannot see it just yet. Ball was 6'1" and about 320. Ball was low, unmovable, and exploded like a jack-in-the-box. Yeah, another good comparison somebody made yesterday was Shawn Rodgers. I think too many fans forget about him, but that guy, his first year in the league wasn't outstanding, but by year 2 and 3 with Detroit, man, he became one of, if not the most dominant nose tackles in the interior defensive lineman in the league, and he was crazy athletic. Remember the a pick or fumble he returned all the way for a touchdown? So, maybe to your point, Surfer, maybe he's not Jerry Ball, maybe he's not Shawn Rodgers, maybe he's just Broderick Martin, but the kid's got some real upside, I think. All right, Trump. Hope there is more court TV today. I like watching sink themselves. All right, fair enough. Don Gong, Super Bowl or bust, 100%, buddy, and hopefully having a great morning. Hooker time. If Hutch had more help, he'd have 15 to 17 sacks. Yeah, and that's one thing I'm going to guess they're going to have to really focus on this offseason is finding that help as you're putting out opposite Hutchinson. Detroit D, it's still Detroit versus everybody, 1,000%. They can all be supporting of us, but we all know at the end of the day, it's us versus them. Big D, woo! There you go, man, and good morning to you. John, what do you got? Greetings and salutations, y'all. I can't handle vocals and guitars for the MCDC band we talked about yesterday. All right, you can handle them. I'm glad to hear it. Let's form that band and get it at a tailgate. To me, that would be outstanding. Getting the Motor City Duke Crew band going. I like that, man. That would be awesome. All right, Birds. Woo! I like that Lions Super Bowl just sounds right. Has a nice ring to it. Yeah, and imagine the next day or two after the Lions win the Super Bowl. I got to imagine this morning show would be off the charts. I mean, the hangover effect of just remembering, embracing, enjoying it all. Yeah, that would be awesome. All right, Brother Ken, explode like a jack in the box. All right, go with that. Explode like a jack in the box. I'm down with that. And good morning to you, Brother Ken. All right, Scott, what do you got? Only the NFL and Vegas will determine where the Lions will go, ! Wake up, people. I get where you're going with that. And you know what? Hey, if we go to the Super Bowl and win, I don't care how we did it, man. All right, Silver Surfer, I'd like to say something about the uniforms. I was irritated by those pajamas. Show some pride and put those silver pants on, and instead of believing in good luck sweets, kick the ball when needed. All right, fair enough. We'll go with that. And you know what? Hey, some people are going to like him. Some people aren't. I haven't paid much attention to him yet. All right, Ed, what do you got? Good morning, Coach and Duke Crew. Lions better build this team to win the division, and they won't go anywhere. Yeah, or they won't go anywhere. Yeah, 100%, Ed. You got to win the division first. You want to secure some home playoff games. So I agree with you 1,000%. All right, Brother Ken, another real estate gem. Don't forget about the meth lab in the basement. Fair enough. And you know what? Unfortunately, over the last decade or maybe 2, I guess it's been, I've had to learn about how to identify potential meth labs. I know just a couple, maybe like 2 or 3 months ago, whenever it was, maybe just before winter, I showed a house in Southwest Michigan. We went into the basement, and I could see a lot of signs of that. I asked the listing agent, hey, did this place get professionally cleaned? And you got to protect your client. And let's just say the answer was gray enough where I just told the people, look at it, man, don't even consider buying this house unless you're just going to take dynamite to it. All right, mile marker. Good morning, Super Bowl? Question mark. Sure! Exclamation point. The tougher the NFC North, the better the Lions will be. I agreed with that. Yeah, let those games help build you up towards the promised land. Gary, Packers are going to be really tough this year. Watch out. Yeah, them and I think the Bears have some real opportunity there as well. Jason, Superdome or bust. Now it's an official show. All right, TaylorMade, ESPN is now in the betting book business now. Yeah, they're trying to find ways to make money. They're trying to find ways to stay relevant and alive. So I get it. They're doing everything they can. Brent, good morning, Coach and Duke Crew. Seeing teams we're playing next season, think we're going about 11-6, 12-5. Should be good enough to win the North again. Number one seed is the goal, but going to be tough. Yeah, every game is going to, for the most part, be a dogfight. I'm 100% in agreement with you there. Troy D would love to have Lattimore in instant upgrade. Yeah, I think that guy can play 100%. Trump, ESPN sucks, but all right, I'll go with that. And, it's not the ESPN it was in the 90s. I'll put it that way. Weston Lion, good morning, Dan. No one is going to predict who we pick up in free agency or the draft, same as last year. Yeah, 100%. Nobody's going to know really what Brad Holmes is going to do. All right, Phil, good morning. Back at you, buddy. Nice new guitar, very yellow. All right, Michael Greens, salutations and Duke Crew, exclamation point. Fair enough. Greens, salutations, coach, and everybody in the Duke Crew. How about that? Mr. Nico, the Motor City Duke Crew needs this Super Bowl championship more than anyone or anything. Let's Mountain do this. One pride. I like the way you're wording things there, Mr. Nico. All right, Gary, how about Jones and Lattimore for $50 million instead of Goff? That would be a possibility. Could make it happen, sure. So we'll see what the Lions choose to do. Robert, it's all about chemistry. They don't need any prima donnas to upset the whole team. In my opinion, Holmes will not even consider it. Yeah, there's probably some level of truth there. Broski, Lions had their year of fame. This was their chance to win all. The Bears and Packers will run the division from now on. You missed your opportunity. We'll see what shakes out, but I'm thinking the Lions have a real good chance. All right, Ryan, scheduled a lot of tougher this season. How do you think they will do? I'm not going to do predictions yet just because when you get to free agency in the draft, that's going to affect all the teams. If some teams don't hit, obviously, on one thing or the other, it does tend to change things a wee bit. All right, Trump, hi, Bear. There you go. Bergs, can't wait until these hooker lovers eat their words. Yeah, and I'm suspecting that Goff's going to be the starter this year. But again, as a coach, I want to leave competition out there. Fred, we got good morning, Coach and Duke Crew. One pride, exclamation point. Great feeling. JMO is going to have the breakout we've been waiting for. That's probably one that I would have to agree with you. I know I mentioned Broderick and who was it, Antoine Green earlier, but you're 100% right. You look at the last few games of the year, then in the postseason, Jameson Williams kept trending upwards. You could argue his best game was in the NFC Championship game. So he might just be getting started for us. All right, Ed, hooker trade or bust. Oh, boy, here we go. Detroit D, on paper, our schedule looks tough. Remember, it's a long season. Injuries, teams regress, new teams emerge. Yeah, and that's the other part. We all think teams are going to replicate what they did the year before. But look around the league. I would say usually 40% of teams either supersede or fall behind expectations. We all go into a season thinking this team's going to be one way or the other. First week of the NFL season comes out. I remember last year, there were a lot of YouTubers saying, man, the Bears are booty. The Green Bay Packers are a bust. Vikings lost to Tampa Bay. They must be terrible. And obviously that one game doesn't show off an entire season. So there will be some teams we all anticipate are going to be good who are going to, fall on their face. They're just not going to make it. Age catches up in football, let alone the NFL, so fast with teams. So you got a good point there, D. Broski, Trump's genius, good morning. I can't see your pick. It looks like Biden. Oh boy, here we go. No politics or anything, and not that was, but let's just friendly reminder. Let's keep politics out of this. Is that still you? Yesterday, and the Royal Lions UK podcast, they voted Panay Sewell MVP of the team for the season. What do you think? I wouldn't have a problem with it. I mean, he's a leader. He's young. He's arguably one of the top 3 or 4 in the NFL at his position. So I'm fine with it. Surfer, I'd say to get an earlier draft selection, even give up some picks. Let's try to get 4 stud players out of the draft: 1 cornerback, 2 O-line, 1 or 2 defense line, whether edge or defensive tackle. Yeah, I think most would be probably very okay with it. Trump, wait until my post comes up. All right, fair enough. All right, Fred, if JMO explodes next season, teams will play us drastically different. Yeah, he could. I mean, you could see some evidence in the playoffs. Teams were starting to have to account for him more and more, which is obviously going to open up, Laporta, Gibbs, St. Brown. But he is a real difference maker, and if he gets going, like I'm anticipating he will next year, he will change the game for the Detroit Lions. Surfer, as for a kicker, question mark, I think we are more than fine with Money Badger and Micro Mike called him, as Micro Mike called him. Yeah, Badgley, Badgley, there you go. We could live with them, but my anticipation is they're going to try to find a better long-term replacement for him. Detroit D, Fred Pearson, running game will be more potent. Yeah, I think there's a real possibility that, especially if they're able to retain Jonah Jackson or bring in an equivalent, rookie. We'll see what happens. All right, Anthony, good morning. Duke Crew, Super Bowl or bust, 1,000%. Broski, what are you looking forward to it? All right. Oh, wow. Yeah. All right. All right. Trump, you like that bear? All right. Fair enough. Maybe I missed something. Broski, Trump's genius, give him okay. All right. Anthony, Goff ranked 4th. Who are you going to get to play better than him this season? Goff. Yeah, and that's the big thing. And I know we've talked about it to death during the season and now the postseason. The chances, it's no disrespect to Hendon Hooker. If he is better, he's better. But I'm just saying the mathematical chances that anybody's going to come in that we're going to be able to get is going to supersede or even maintain what Goff did. That's just asking a ton. I mean, Goff, I get if Goff could run a 4.3 and shake and bake, then there'd be no questions about him. But I get because the league has become more athletic, I guess you could say, at quarterback. We all see somebody break containment and run. I get we all want that. But also don't forget, there's a whole lot of guys that can't sling it like Goff. There's a whole lot of guys that don't have Goff's numbers. And that's where I think we run into, as a fan base, a real risk of, wanting somebody else until they get here and they don't put up those numbers that Goff did. Then we're going to be looking and going, man, why'd that idiot trade him or not re-sign him? So therein lies the fandom of it all. All right, Eduardo, everyone but us, John, everyone but us can get after the quarterback. Yeah, well, hopefully we fix that this offseason. Friend, Detroit D, exactly, and I see it coming. JMO is going to open the field up and make the safeties play up and open underneath. Yeah, and I would say Jameson Williams, he has the potential to be one of the more explosive receivers in the league. And when that happens, when we did some game review with you guys and talked about the formation stuff, you could see to Tampa Bay, just bring them up real quick. Tampa Bay double teamed him the vast majority of the time because they were recognizing what he could do. The 49ers did it most of the game, but when they didn't, that's when you saw some of the shots to Jameson Williams. Even the Rams consistently, and I would say more than Tampa Bay, had 2 guys accounting for him because I think in the playoffs, people were seeing his development and growth. So I don't anticipating that changing anytime soon. All right, trade JMO, I don't think so, Phil, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't see any way that they would give up on Jameson Williams. All right, Doug, so totally on with it. Center guard, if only, yeah. I'm all for them. If we're going to hold on to that 29th pick, I'm very okay with them taking a guard or center there or in the second round. You're going to have to, I think, beef up that offensive line sooner versus later because age is happening. Anthony JMO not going anywhere. No, I don't think so. Don Kong, Packers, aren't the greatest. We'll go with that. Phil, why not? Question mark. He ain't doing much. JMO, I think he's getting ready to play at a very high level. I think, like I was just alluding to, throughout the end of the season, you could see him developing exponentially. Eduardo, elite guard play can take us far. It's time to draft a future All-Pro. Yeah, and I'm with you there. You got to start growing some new players. All right, Anthony, I mentioned before, 2 quarterbacks set, pocket Goff, mobility Hooker. Yeah, and I could see both those guys are going to be here, I'm guessing, this season. And I could see where Hooker gets some packages just to throw some defenses off, catch them with something they're not maybe prepared for. Doug, what do you got? Trump's Jesus, good morning. Can't see your pick, but it looks like, oh boy. All right. Trump and then going nowhere. All right. Yeah, I don't think he will. Eduardo, teams can franchise tag this week. We will know who's making it out ASAP. Yeah, we'll know in a limited amount of time. Doug, I will leave if you keep these two. All right, fair enough. Sorry. So how about this? Let's cut out all the politics stuff. I've asked you guys for a while, so no more comments about it or anything. And Doug, I'm just gonna say this. I'm trying to make everybody happy here, so let's just be respectful of each other. This is a non-political zone, so after today, man, come on. None whatsoever. No BS about the stuff. I get people trying to, shoot little things in here. I'm not that naive. I'm not that old. But come on, guys. I mean, how many times do I have to ask you? No more. You want to do the politics? Do it somewhere else. All right, Phil. Yeah. Well, it might be soon. All right, Walt. Good morning, Coach and Duke crew. Love to keep Goff a couple years yet, and hopefully Hooker will be ready. This is our year. I agree with you, Walt, 100%. All right, is that still you? Coach, come on. At AT playing you, yeah. So, guys, I'm going to just say this. After today, you put anything about Trump, Biden, politics, I'm just going to block you. I've asked you ad nauseum not to do it. You guys keep wanting to push buttons. I'm going to say this. If you're that into it, where you got to do it on the Lions talk show all the time, then you know what? You're here for the wrong reasons. This show is about sports, not politics. If you got to get that fix where you're like a crackhead, I got to get it. I got to get it on the keyboard and just type in something. Ooh, nobody will catch it. Then you know what? You're really just too into politics for me. So I'm going to ask you for the final time. When this show ends, you come on this show and do anything political, I'm blocking you. I've warned you enough. So if you're that into it, go find a YouTube channel about politics. Find a bunch of people that want to talk about the topics you want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about politics. I don't do politics. I'm telling you right now, when this show ends today, the next time you come in and talk anything political, you will be banned. Enough said. All right, Phil. JMO was improving every week. I would agree with that. His breakout is coming, 1,000%. Doug, Eduardo, and Trump's, their logos and their comments. Okay, yeah, I brought this up enough. You guys get it. When this show ends here in a couple minutes, don't come in here, talk politics again. It'll be a no-fly zone. You put anything about, hope we Trump that draft pick, or I'll be Biden if I thought that was a great call, or whatever it is. I'm just going to block you. And just so if you want to push that button, I will push the button back at you. All right, JDC. Any ski jump fans on the channel? I don't get that one, but hopefully it's not political. Phil, how long are you going to wait for the breakout? Or heard that every game last year? Phil, but let's be fair to the kid. You look at the NFC title game. I mean, he did have potentially his greatest game as a Detroit Lion or in the NFL. JDC, Giant Pine Fountain will host its annual jump on, February 23rd through 25th in Iron Mountain, Michigan. A shameless plug. All right. So something about skiing. I'm down with that. And, good luck to you guys out there in that. I don't ski. I probably fall down real well, but that's about it. JP, do you really think Brad Holmes will pay Hunter all that money? ? It's not usually the way he operates. Yeah, and I agree with you on that. So we'll wait and see how that shakes out. Anthony JMO over 1,000 yards, 8 TDs this year. Yeah, and I think he's going to continue to get better and better. Broski, seems like Bears are definitely going to pursue Hunter. The interest was there last season. That would what would it take to get land Hunter? I'm thinking 3 years, 65 million, 45 million guaranteed. Bears have 70 million cap. Yeah, that sounds about right. Hunter and Sweat would be a great defensive tackle duo. Yeah, that would be legendary one. All right, Eduardo, let's just hope Brad actually brings Hutch help and fixes the defense. Only team to win the Super Bowl recently that built through the draft is Kansas City. And that's it. We don't have a Mahomes X. Yes, I would concur with that 1,000%. All right, a couple more here, and then it's about time for me to get off the air. Probably went a little longer than Jen would have liked. I do want to say thank you for Anthony. Coach, thank you for all you do with the morning show. Love it. Hey, thank you very much for that. I will make sure I leave Bobby a wee bit of a tip there. And then I think I got another notification that, Broski, good morning, Dan. I'll keep the politics out. I didn't hear until today that you mentioned that already. Yeah, no worries, man. Well, everybody's on the same page, hopefully now. So, again, from here on out, any puns or whatever, no fly zone for politics. So let's just all be here for one reason, and that's to talk about the Detroit Lions. All right, Wee Man. All right. Wee Man. I see Cooper peek out my work window. Ski jump heaven. All right, fair enough. I don't know anything about skiing, guys, so I can't help you with that one. JC, Wee Man, 1,000%. Yeah. Doug JMO exceeded my expectations and continued all season long. His upward curve is actually beyond what I thought in the NFC Championship game. Let that sink in. He caught two TDs. And you're 100% right, Doug. He nearly caught a third. Remember I think it was the flea flicker that they threw it, and it was maybe a foot out of his reach, something like that at least. But I think he's got a real possibility to break out next year. JP, thank you, Dan. This is the Lions channel. No more politics, 100%. Yep, none whatsoever. Gary, Max, yep. Patrick Mahomes, yep. Dana, what do you got? We need to get another center guard in case something happens to Ragnar and Glasgow. Yeah, I agree with you there. I think we got to go out there and try to address that. Anthony, hey guys, this is the Lions Talk Show. If I wanted politics, I'd watch CNN. Please stay with the content about the Lions. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And I'm making my final warnings today. You push the button to join the show or whatever tomorrow, and if you make any puns, jokes, whatever about it, it's I can't warn you any more than that. So everybody be foretold what will happen. Max, and most of the athletic quarterbacks don't finish the season. Yeah, there's especially when they're younger, they just rely so much on the athletic ability that they put themselves in bad situations. And I do think a number of them is sort of like Steve Young when he was younger, or I don't remember a couple of other ones, but Randall Cunningham, guys that were just overly athletic that sometimes, because they took so many hits, I mean, Steve Young might have had like 49 concussions, and he would have been, ruled out of the NFL in today's standards a long time ago. But yeah, you got to make sure that you can stay healthy. Can't wait until Gary. Can't wait until Hooker changes your minds in 2025. Fair enough. We'll see. We'll let the great Hooker debate begin. Dana, what do you got? Great salutations, Coach and Duke crew. Finally made it to a live show. Just wanted to say love it. Hey, glad you love it and glad you're here. And if I ever make it back to Michigan, I will be looking for you at a home with priority Super Bowl or bust. All right. And I know that's one thing we'll as a group, we'll all figure out for next year is we'll try to pick a home game, have a tailgate. Maybe we can get some of the guys who are more musically inclined than I ever will be to do the Motor City Dew Crew performance or whatever at the tailgate. I think that would be awesome. All right, guys, I've made it as close to an hour as I can get. I am already getting the looks to get off the air so we can get ready for the guys who are coming to work on the windows today. So if there's some breaking news later today and Jen allows me to get on the mic, I'll try to get it to you as quick as I can. Otherwise, I hope you all have a great day. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Making that push to get to 5,900, and I want to say we're about 60 subs away. Also, if you would, take a second and hit that thumbs up button. Take care, and we'll see you on the next Lions Talk Live. See you guys.